Okay, lovely to see you all this afternoon for this Book Creator for Schools quick burst session. We're just past 3:30, fairly popular session this afternoon, and so I'm going to blast through. I hope that what I've got to show you is going to be of use, and we'll get to the Q&As as well. Actually, today's session is all about use in class, as well as I believe we've got a number of admin staff on here as well, because schools are starting to use Book Creator more and more as a way to host documents, whether that's newsletters or prospectuses and things like that. So actually the first part of the session today, I'm going to be running through some of the basics of using Book Creator, of publishing books, of settings to do with that, getting things on the web, hopefully alleviating some worries to do with publishing things on the web. And so we'll go through that stuff first, and then we will move over to in-class use, which is a particularly exciting aspect of Book Creator for schools. But before we get on to all of this, just to flag up that the training today and up until Easter 2022 now, because it's been extended, is through the EdTech Demonstrator Programme. You may find if you're a school in England, I require you to fill in a quick form for us, and I will probably hassle you for that just after Easter, actually, now that time is ticking on. But this is all made available to you through the EdTech Demonstrator Programme. And if you want further and further support from us as a trust of 28 schools who we think are fairly well down the road with EdTech and increasingly embedding this stuff into our practice, you are very welcome to maintain contact, and we can offer you lots and lots of guidance through webinars. And indeed, we have quite a chunk of material online at the moment already, currently in the process of really pivoting back towards in-class use and away from the remote education circumstances, and fingers crossed that remains, and we don't have any major setbacks with that. But just to say, there is a lot of material online, and it will be updated shortly, and there's lots and lots of new webinars being published over the coming days, actually, as we sort of change course slightly, and hopefully support all of these schools that have lots of new devices and are hopefully over the coming months thinking about how to use digital tech in classrooms more and better. So over to Book Creator. Some objective points that we will definitely cover on the left there, how to access things through this web-based tool. I've said web-based tool. I will point out that this tool actually originated on the iPad as an app, and you will find that that app still exists. I would heavily point you towards the web-based version of Book Creator, whether you are using tablets or Chromebooks or through traditional, laptop PCs, because for classroom use and for admin use, it has worked so much better, and it's all free. So actually going through the web-based version as it stands is a great way to use this wonderful tool, and it's been around for a number of years. I mean, it must be getting on for 10 years possibly that Book Creator first emerged. So it's not something new, and working in this way is certainly not a gimmick and a fad that's going to disappear, because once you start saving time with it and feeling the power of it, you realize that working in this digital form is something that both adults and students are going to more and more become accustomed to. So some points on the left there you can read through. I'm going to send these slides over to you at the end of this session, or possibly tomorrow morning. Don't feel that you have to write down what's on these slides, because you're going to get hold of them, and these are merely little points of reference for you to think about when you yourself are exploring Book Creator, because there's there's only so much you can learn through sitting through somebody like me presenting to you. It's when you get out there and you use the thing that you will really feel most confident with it, I would hope. So I guess the first thing to say before going into Book Creator is don't be afraid to dig in there and have a go. So I'm going to jump over to a Book Creator account now. And as you'll see, it's running in my web browser. There it is. And this is me simply logging in. Let me just log out again to show you. That's the main way that people will come into Book Creator. And so, of course, you've got this student sign-in tab, which they would use in class. But for teachers, or indeed for, you might be an admin member of staff for a school, you're still going to have to go in as a teacher. You've got two ways to go in here, where you've got the sign in with email as well. And this Clever option, that's more of a US thing. Here in the UK, most of us are going to be using a Google login or a Microsoft login. In fact, in the schools in which I work, all staff members have a Google and a Microsoft login. So there is a, you could in fact go in with either, which may, if you're using the free version, have some advantages to doing it that way. But whichever way you go in with this product, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so if you go in with Microsoft and the children go in with Google, that's not actually going to matter with this product. So that's good news. But I'm going in with my Google account, and I'll just click through there, and you'll see that I've got all sorts of stuff in here already. And if you glimpse at some of this, it gives you a hint as to some of the potential, some of the reasons why you might be using this. And I guess the first thing that might strike you is it's called Book Creator, and these things are full of video, potentially pictures. It's called Book Creator, I guess, as a way to get people in there in the traditional sense of writing, but actually this product can be used in so many different ways. It's an amazing replacement for something like PowerPoint or Word or Google Slides or Google Docs, all those tools that in fact are very much pitched at the business world, and they fit into secondary education okay, but when it comes down to primary schools, it's not the first tool that we should perhaps be reaching for when we're teaching children at the lower end of Key Stage 2, shall we say. But anyway, we're going to talk in more general terms first. So let me go back. Here are a couple of documents, not produced by me, produced by a couple of schools in our trust. And you can see what they're doing. We've got a half-term newsletter here and an autumn newsletter there. Come in. There we go. If I go into one of these documents, see here we've got the edit there. I'm going to click on there to edit this thing, and you can see, go through the pages. So there's quite a lot of text in this one and some images here. And they've obviously used a template for this graphical background, placed the text in there. You can see here you've actually got other documents, PDF documents that have been dragged in or imported in, and then those are there for whoever's looking at this document to click on, and then those PDF documents themselves should be available. Here we go, that one's going to pop up there. And so a book can link quite nicely there to all sorts of other information if that's around and about. So this would appear to be quite an accomplished piece of work, this one. I was pretty impressed when I saw that. But don't feel that this has to do anything more than newsletters do at the moment. I mean, I guess it's a chance to rethink what the school publishes for parents to look at. And really, I think it's a big chance to rethink that. You know, what exactly do you want to communicate to the parents? Are pictures a great way to communicate what's been going on in the school?
Hi, Giles. How do you share that with parents? Do you share it as a link? Do you share like, because that's the problem with the book creator I found is like saving it as an EPUB brings its own difficulties, really.
Okay, I'm just about to show you that
Oh,
process.
thanks. Sorry about that.
No problem for chipping in. That's brilliant. So there's your document sitting there, and you know, they're pictures. You can resize. You've got undo that will work, and up here are the tools for importing. So if I was going to import a file, a video, anything else, or indeed I can search for something. Let's just search for some trees to show you how that works quite nicely. And we found a picture of some trees, and I could use that. I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to drag it around, put rotate there, and I'm going to press delete. Goodbye. So it's got basic functionality like that. You may find that it doesn't work quite the same as, you know, your publisher or your Canva or whatever else you might use. It's got this slower interface. Now it's got a slower sort of interface in order to help children with its use, but in actual fact it does help us adults as well when we're putting things together. Publishing. So if I go back here to my books, that's where I can see the set of books that are in my library. And I'm going to go to this one. Now, this one is actually published elsewhere by the school, but I'm going to publish it. And what's important to note is that just because I'm publishing it, that doesn't mean that somebody could go and search for it because it's enclosed as a document. So you don't need to worry if you're publishing children's work too much about, you know, that becoming part of a search engine. But down here, you'll see we've got publish online. And so if I click that, it gives me some options. Now I'm going to call it author newsletter. That's fine. That's who authored it first of all. So let's keep it exactly the same. And note with any of this publishing, you know, if we're publishing children's work, it could be a first name. You possibly won't want to be publishing first and surnames. That's the normal convention. Sometimes you publish first names. You might just put a pupil. Okay, so it's up to you, depending on your safeguarding. Let's just call this right. So it can be fairly innocuous like that. Autumn newsletter, Colin Downs, publish the book, off it goes. And so that now exists, and you'll see here, if I click on read online, this book now exists, published on the web, and you see I can click through it like that. And up here is the web address. Okay, so it's that you'd want to copy out. Let's Command C or go to edit, copy, however it is that you do it. And then that link is the thing that you could post out to your parents. It might be on your Facebook post. It might be on your text messages that you send out, or whatever system it is that you use to communicate with your parents. That is the web address that you can send out. If you've got a little tool to shorten it, like I've got on here, you can click and then you'll get, you know, one of these slightly shorter web addresses, which could be useful. It will just take you to the same page. And so that link gets posted out, and of course it becomes a little hyperlink. Parents click on it and they can view it. Now, as it stands, and I have had a word with book creator people just recently to say, because I think they may have changed this. I was pretty sure on a mobile phone that you could zoom in, and actually I believe You can't do that at the moment, and they've said that they're going to sort that out. I really felt that this was something that it did. So that's something to check. Person who asked the question talked about PDFs. It may be that when you distribute these, to be on the safe side, you distribute a PDF as well as your newsletter. That might be something to do, but I believe Book Creator are going to resolve that small issue with the smallest mobile phones. It's not such a big deal with a larger phone, which a lot of people have. So in any case, it's published, it's sitting there on the web, and I can still make changes to it. Okay, so I can still go back here, and if I close that, you'll see that I'll just refresh here. You're going to see that it's got this little logo here to tell me that this book is currently published. And if I click on here, there's a little link there, and that would just copy, do the same thing that I just showed you manually with the web address. So if I click that, it will copy it. And I can then go to read online to see it, or I can stop publishing. Now, I would be wary of stopping publishing because you might want to publish again. Normally, it's best if you think, all right, there's a mistake on here, just go and edit it. And any edit that you make on here, so let's say we had an extra R on here, that would be a fairly anything that I change on here immediately affects the published version online. Okay, so that's one of the joys of publishing to the web, is that anything that you change will be updated, and that's it. Okay, so I would suggest once you've published, probably best to keep it published unless there's some dreadful circumstance. You'll notice sometimes it takes a little while for the front cover to update. Don't worry about that. They get there in the end. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is just go into let me go into this one just to give you a glimpse of another sort of layout. And again, I think these schools have really gone to town with it. And I don't think it's necessarily something where you need to think, well, we need pages and pages and pages here. It really doesn't have to work like that. Do think carefully before you bite off more than you can chew. But you can see that it's a fairly easy way to put together a layout. And across our trust, we produced a template originally for school prospectuses, and then schools were just editing that template. And so working in that way, you can save schools, I think, a lot of time, hopefully. And actually these schools have gone to town on it, had a bit of a vision as to how it can work, but you do really need to be careful about what precedent are you setting for the future. If this is happening 3 times a year, then fine, maybe the larger thing is okay, but on a weekly basis, you don't want to be the same with newsletters. On a weekly basis or once every couple of weeks, you don't want to be producing this ridiculously huge thing. You can see here from the pages button, it shows you each page, and you can adjust the order like that. Okay, so if you've got a reason to move pages around, you can do that. You may find good reason to copy a page. So if I copy that page, you will see it just appears next to it. Okay, so then I could click on there, go in and start editing again. Okay, so thinking in terms of copy and paste, copy that page, we've got the same layout, we can just change the pictures, all that type of thing is really useful. Just going to delete that page. So I've shown you some of the basics of that. I think what I'm going to do is come back over here, and at this point I'm going to stop recording.